Hello, welcome back. I am Flutter by Nessa, and I would like to go over some warm palettes. Turns out that's still a thing. I know we have been moving more towards cooler tone palettes recently, but a couple of trends that aren't going away, looks like, are still warm tone palettes and warm tone palettes with a pop of color. Usually it's blue, but not always. So I went through and found all of my warm tone palettes. I tried not to include palettes that are mostly warm toned and have other things in them. I tried to stick to strictly warm tone palettes. And as I was swatching and comparing them, I found some colors that I really like and I'm excited for. I took my watch off so that I can swatch for you. And we're just going to swatch a few of these and compare and see how similar they are and talk about why one or the other might be right for you if you're interested in finding a warm tone palette. Assuming that they're all still available, which looking at it, I think they all are. Maybe one. We'll start with that one. This is the Too Faced Honey Peanut Butter and Honey palette. And honestly, it's okay. This palette and the Peanut Butter and Jelly palette both lack intensity. They kind of soak into your skin or something. The colors don't pop. Now, a few of these colors are great, but most of the colors, I'm fair-skinned and don't have a lot of melanin in my skin for these to compete with, but even so, they fade quickly, especially like this yellow that would be so beautiful. It fades too quickly for my liking. It doesn't show up like that. I find Feelin' Nutty is a beautiful color. I really like the contrast there. Bee's Knees has glitter in it, which will show up if you use a glitter primer, but it's just more work than what you have to do with most of the other shadows. Going Nuts is really creamy and beautiful. I mean, I like the palette overall, but if you're going for a warm tone palette, I wouldn't recommend this one first, which is probably good because I don't know if it's still available. Maybe on the Too Faced website, but maybe not. Let me just swatch some of the ones I was talking about. Let's do Going Nuts, Peanut Butter, Bee's Knees, and Feelin' Nutty. Okay, so Going Nuts, Peanut Butter, Bee's Knees, and Feelin' Nutty. I like Feelin' Nutty. It's just a little bit grungy, but I love that it has as much yellow in it as it does. They had a whole chocolate bar palette based around the peanut butter shade, or rather from the peanut butter shade in the chocolate bar palette is what inspired the peanut butter and honey and also the peanut butter and jelly palettes. That peanut butter shade is super popular, very buildable, really flattering, but not enough to really save the palette. Let me just show you that yellow one as well. It's called Honey Buns. Yeah, I don't know if I can even build it up to something satisfying. It's just so light. That's 3 passes over it. I don't know if you can even see it from there, but it's a lovely thought, but it just doesn't pop against the skin. So I do like this palette, but if you're looking for a warm tone palette, maybe if you want something that's really subtle, that it's hard to go overboard with, this would be a really good one. But it would not be my first choice as far as what would occur to me first to recommend a warm toned palette. Now I have the Tartelette Flirt palette. This is beautiful. This is like a mini of the Tartelette Toasted palette, but the shades are unique from the Toasted palette, which of course is another warm palette. And let me just show you both of them next to each other so that you can get an idea. They actually are unique colors. I think the closest one might be Touch and Flame, but I'll swatch them next to each other so that you can see how similar or how different they are. Let's see. I'm going to grab Touch and Flame, and I'll do those. So Touch is on top. It's a little bit flaky, but it's so creamy and beautiful. Let me show you. So Touch, and this one is Flame. I would have thought that Flame would have more impact. They are very similar, but Touch just has a little bit more something to it. It's got more of like a rosy, like a pink fiery shift to it, whereas Fire has more of an orange undertone. I think Touch actually has more impact, which is the one that's here in the mini palette. And this one actually does, Passion is more of a purple color. So it does deviate slightly from the Warm family, but only slightly. I think it's just in context. It looks a little bit pink, but in practice, it's still very warm. So my reason for actually buying the Tartelette Toasted palette was this color right here, Cashmere. I could not find it in any other palette, and I had seen it on just people who were testing out the palette. I think specifically it was Kathleen Lights that I saw her use it, and I just love that particular shade. And so of all the shades in here, I don't know that I would have guessed that that would be the one that drew me in, but Cashmere, just such a unique kind of peachy, fiery shade. So if you really are looking for just a warm toned palette and you want some variations on the warm tone, here, I'm going to also do Warmth and Simmer and Sunset. So Warmth, Simmer, and Sunset. They come off looking a lot warmer on the skin, I find. So Warmth, Simmer, and Sunset. Simmer and Sunset are actually quite similar. Here, I'm gonna get Simmer a little bit more swatched. They are quite similar. Sunset has a little bit more brown to it, I find. Whereas, Sunset has more brown. Simmer has more of a reddish undertone. They're all quite warm, but that is an excellent palette for warm tones if you're looking for one. I actually really like Crackle. It's one of those that has the glitter in there that will only show up if you use a glitter primer, but it is remarkable when you put it on the lid. I really like this palette. I like that Fireside is a little bit cooler toned, kind of offset everything else that's in there. And I would recommend this palette for a warm toned palette. It is a little bit crumbly, so you have to tap off your brush when you use it, but the colors are true to the name and to the palette, and I find they work together really well. I really like it. I would recommend Tartelette Toasted palette, and I like the Flirt palette as well. I just really like that Touch color, and even the more purpley leaning one isn't so purple that it's not warm. You have something to deepen it up. Not terribly deep, but it'll deepen it up for you, and I like the colors that they chose and the variety that there is in this one. So if you just want a 6-pan palette, you just know exactly what you're going to do, I would recommend the Flirt. I had the other mini palette like this that was not the Flirt, and it's not warm toned. Just as a side note, I did not like that one as well. And normally I prefer cool tones, but I could not get a look out of that one that I was satisfied with. So I passed it along to somebody else who could enjoy it more. But the Flirt Tartelette palette, I do really recommend. Naked Petite Heat palette. This one is a warm palette, but it's quite small. It only has the 6 shades. This Wild Thing really, I don't have the full Naked Heat palette. I just thought it had too many similar tones and I want more variety out of a palette than what I felt like that could give me. And the only color in this palette that was unique from the shades that were in the big palette, or at least comparisons that I saw, was Wild Thing. And Wild Thing is beautiful. It's so pretty. Strike is very similar to that deep color that was a little bit cooler toned in the Toasted palette. But these ones are quite neutral. This Inhale color has a little bit of a shimmer to it, but these three are really more of the warm. Here, I'll swatch those last three. I've got Wild Thing, Heat, and Strike. So we'll start, Wild Thing is on the bottom, Heat is in the middle, and Strike is on the top. Quite crumbly, it looks like, but there you have it. Wild Thing, Heat, and Strike. Really, really beautiful colors. I really like this palette. I enjoy working with it. Again, just tap off your brush if you're finding that you have fallout. Yeah. And it's a $29 palette, I believe. So if you don't want to break the bank and you like matte shadows, then this is a great one for you. Okay, let's do a cult favorite. This one, it says Cute AF on the palette. That's not what it's called. Don't be fooled. This is called Yes Please, the Yes Please palette from ColourPop. And I saw someone do a dupe on the Natasha Denona, is it the Sunset palette? The colors are very similar. But this palette is $16 and that one is $129 or something. These colors are beautiful. They are easy to work with. They have a little more variety. Here, let me hold it up with the Toasted palette. So more variety than what you get in the Toasted palette. You can see that there are some similar shades, especially with this color here and the Warmth color. It looks very similar, but like the cashmere color is not the same as this color right here, or else I would not have ended up buying this one. I don't remember which one came first. I don't know that the Yes Please was out when the Toasted came out. However, there's just a little bit different shades. This one, the Yes Please, leans a little bit more red, whereas the Toasted leans a little bit more toasty, as the name would suggest, a little bit more like toast and less like sunburn. So let me swatch. I love colors like this. There are two other colors at least. Well, it's actually this one from the Flirt palette and this one. And then there's another palette that has it that I just am in love with. I'm going to swatch it next to it just a little bit so that you can see the similarity. It's a little bit more pink leaning. I don't know if you can see that, but this one and this one. So the Yes Please palette version is a little bit more pink, but let's do that one that's similar to the Toasted, and we'll grab a gold because that's different, just for kicks and giggles. There we go. And I will put that other one down there just so that we have it. Oh, I should be swatching closer to the other side of my arm. I hope you can still see it. Those colors. There was one more that I was going to grab and I can't remember which one it was. Oh, the yellow, because I want you to see in comparison to the honey one. So I'll swatch that right there. It's a little bit more crumbly, but look at the impact that that one has. Just so much more vibrant over here on the edge. So I'll put that down here with the rest of them as well so that we can keep it in context. But the Yes Please, it's inexpensive. I think it's $16. It really is fairly easy to work with. It has some beautiful shades and competes with some of the high-end palettes, like I've said. That one is great, and it's available at Ulta now too, so you can get your points and use any coupons, Ulta coupons. So I do recommend that one as well. This next one I got in a BoxyCharm. This is the Ace Beauté Grandiose palette, and it looks like this. There's no mirror. It's really pretty packaging, but no mirror. which one is it? Is it this color? I think it's this color. Is it that one? I think it is. Let me try it. It's called Myrtle. Let me just swatch that. You know what? I'm lying. It's not this palette. This palette I really like. There's Myrtle, so you can see it. Oh man, I'm running out of space. Myrtle, yeah, it's not this palette that I was thinking of. That same color like the Tartelette palette. Clove is what I love about this palette. It changes everything. It's a much more persimmon-y color, which the other palettes don't have. Does Yes Please have it? Yeah, see, it's much brighter, this persimmon color. The closest thing you get is this one up here, which I did swatch, I believe, and it comes off much more brown when you swatch it. So Clove is just very bright. So it brings a brightness to the palette that the other ones don't have. So it is a different feel to it, and it's more mauve, and this pink changes the feel. So this is a warm palette, but it has more of a pink feel to it. You can really shift it that direction. And so I feel like it's unique from the other ones. So if you like the Clove and rose colors, then this Ace Beauté palette is definitely the way to go because it is quite different from the colors in the other palettes. Okay, this palette is also from BoxyCharm, and this is why I was confused. This is the Crown Pro palette, and although it does not have the name anywhere on it, this one is the Fuego palette. This one does have a small mirror, but the color that I fell in love with when I was swatching these the other night is this one right here in the middle top. It is gorgeous, and it's very similar to that Tarte Flirt palette. Here, I'll put it on the other side over here so that you can see. But it's a little bit more dynamic. See that? Right there. And this one, and then this one. So there is a theme there, right? But I think this one is my favorite as far as all of those ones go. And this one otherwise is quite neutral warm, but it is true warm. So let me give you, here's kind of a similar one to the purpley color. I'll put that one right over here. It's even a little bit more purple though. So you can see the purple here as opposed to the purple in that Tartelette palette. So if you want that Tartelette palette, but you want to expand on the shades a little bit, then this is a good one for you. And this one has more sparkle options. So you've got a really bright red here. I'm just going to put it over here. So that one's really vampy red. And more of a brown shine. I'll put that right here. And that one, if I can see it, it does have shine, but that would really deepen up the corner nicely and give you a little bit more drama, I think. Plus you have just a matte dark brown. So if you like the Tartelette palette, but you want a little more variety than that, I would actually go with this over the Tartelette Toasted. So Tartelette Flirt, if you like that one, but you want more, I would go with the Crown Fuego instead of the Tartelette Toasted. I feel like this lends you more to an expanded version of that Tartelette Flirt than the Tartelette Fuego does. Okay, just 3 more palettes and then we're done. Thank you for sticking with me if you're still here. So I recently got a package, a mystery package from Suva, which I have recently tried for my first time, and I loved all of the products that came. I chose to get this palette, which is the Saffron palette, says it right there, because I already have the other palette that was an option because it came in a BoxyCharm. I can't remember what that one's called. I can put it on the screen for you. But this one is also very warm toned. This one though, this red, I feel makes it unique. Let's hold this one up with the Ace Beauté because I feel like these two are more comparable. Even though, again, that clove color really makes it different than what we have going on here. But you do have the primrose, which is similar to turmeric, and you have a cinnamon in both palettes. They're both called cinnamon, but the Saffron palette is much more maroon, kind of more brick red color, but not as red as Poppy in the Ace Beauté palette. So, and you also have a purple option here. it's still warm. I feel like Clove is true to the warm palette. And Sarso, I'm going to swatch that one because that one looks fairly purple to me, which doesn't seem as warm as what we are talking about. I'm going to put it right here. See, still a very warm color. So it does play nicely with all the warms. I'm going to put it right next to Saffron over here. Ooh, but you can see how much more purple, excuse me, the Sarso is, even though it does lean warm when you're there. So this one, I'm swatching Star Anise. Put that right. Ooh, that one is crumbly. But that one is much more muted, much more taupe. So the Saffron, I think, gives you the option to tone it down a little bit or cool it off a little bit. So it is a warm tone palette, but I feel like Sarso and Star Anise, this lower row, give you the option to really tone it down and cool it off so it doesn't have to be fiery red in your face. Although if you're getting a warm palette, maybe that's exactly what you're going for. So it might not be appealing that there is that, but I think that palette is beautiful. I would like to try to do a coolish tone look with that, but I haven't yet. I've just done a really warm tone look. If I can find that, I had it on my Instagram, I believe. And if I have that, I will put it up for a moment so you can see the look that I came up with from that. Last two palettes, classic, modern Renaissance. I have not used this nearly as much as I thought I would. I'm just going to take the brush out, but it is the OG warm palette that kind of set off the whole firestorm. It's not as warm as palettes now, but that's because this was our starting point. This was where we like jumped into it. And you can see that we did start with some of those purple colors. I'm going to swatch Venetian Red next to that purple in the last palette from the Saffron palette, and Love Letter just underneath that. See, very true to the OG palette. Because this really is what set it off. I feel like that purple in the Saffron palette is a shimmery version of Love Letter. So you have the red ochre, you have realgar, you have cypress umber, and just a myriad of more. You do have Buonfresco, which is not warm, but nobody ever talks about that, honestly. And it is a beautiful color. Isn't that funny? We just never think about that. It's quite pale. It's lovely. It actually makes me want to pair it with the Soul color in the new Norvina palette. I'm curious to see how those would pair together. But for the most part, these are all very warm, and this is still a really good palette. And because it does have the pinks in there, you can kind of take it a different direction, but it also has enough of the more neutral warms in there that if you want to do just a neutral look, you can totally do that. And Antique Bronze is beautiful. I'm going to put that just down here a little bit. You can see right here, that plays really well with Buonfresco, those two colors. So if you don't want to go overboard with the warm, but you do want it to be warm, and you also want a little bit of options to take it to more of a pink, like Valentine-y romantic look, modern Renaissance. Very true to the name that they gave it, the Renaissance. That sort of a time period does make me think of art from the time and things like that. Last palette that is a warm tone palette, but also is one of the OGs, but nobody really talks about this much. I don't remember where I got this. If I got this on Haute or if I got this at MAC? No, I think it was at Ulta. It must have been an Ulta deal that I got this, but this is the Warm Neutral palette. It's just got 15 shadows, and this one is kind of really subtle. If you want a warm palette, but you don't want it to be bam in your face, then this is the palette for you. It is full of beautiful shadows. This color down here doesn't look like much in the pan, but it is gorgeous on the eyes. Let me see if I can swatch that one for you. And I'm going to get this orange right here and kind of the pink up here. I'm going to put them over here. So there are the three colors. Let me see. Can you see that? that one from the corner, kind of an antique gold, that orangey one, and the pink. See, over here it is compared to the other ones. They really do have that shift, kind of a pink, red, gold shift, and really beautiful. So this would be the most subtle palette and just true neutrals, but on the warm side, the MAC warm neutrals. The Modern Renaissance, you can find a neutral look in here, but you can also go very warm and you can also go romantic. So that one would suit someone who has those preferences. As far as these other palettes, I would say if you just want something compact and matte, go for the Urban Decay Naked Petite Heat. If you like the shimmers and you don't want anything too dramatic, well, I mean too dramatic, you can still darken it up with this color down here, but if you want something compact and tailored for you and you don't have to think too much, you just know what look you're going to get, and you like these colors, I really like the Tartelette Flirt. I think that's an excellent one. If you would like to expand on that particular vocabulary, that one right there, I would go with the Crown Fuego palette because I feel like it really expands and is true. Let me hold it up together. Here they are. I think you can see that. I'm sorry for the reflection. It makes it tough. But this one really does build on what this one is. It has the same purple and the same pink shiny ones, but it also has some more shiny options and more mattes as well. So if you want it little, do the Flirt. If you want a bigger one, get the Crown Fuego. For Tartelette, it really is just a more subtle, it's more of a brown option for the warm tones. So it is very neutral, but you're definitely going to get warm. You could come up with a more subtle warmth, but if you add in, it's just going to be more warm than subtle, than neutral, which if you're going for a warm palette, that's great. The Yes Please palette has a lot of options. It also has a beautiful gold and that yellow. That makes it unique. If you like the yellow, I would do the Yes Please. If you want something that takes you more red, but also has a little bit cooler toned option and still be really impactful, I would do the Saffron. And if you like that persimmon, the Clove, it's called Clove, but it's kind of a persimmon shade, that takes it a really different direction and you can take it romantic. So less neutral, but equally as romantic as the Modern Renaissance. And if you want something that you won't be able to overdo and you can find it, then get the Peanut Butter and Honey palette from Too Faced. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any of those palettes, if this was helpful, and if there are any other kinds of genres of palettes that you'd like me to go through, or see what I have in my collection that I could compare for you. Be sure to leave a thumbs up if you like videos like this, and subscribe so that you don't miss my next video, and my videos will pop up automatically in your feed. I hope you're having an excellent day, and I hope to see you next time too. Bye.